One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question. I am here at the University of Michigan in the offices of Warde Manuel. Warde is the Director of Athletics here at Michigan. Warde, thank you very much for having me here in your office and joining us today on One Question.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Ty. Welcome. Glad to have you here.
Now, Warde, you've been in the college athletics industry for 22, 23 years.
Correct.
You've been here at Michigan almost going on 2 years. You were Director of Athletics at Buffalo and UConn prior to arriving at Michigan. One question I've always wondered is, how does an athletic director ensure that all sports feel valued on a campus when, football and men's basketball usually get all the press? How have you been able to manage that in your stops as athletic director?
Well, I think it really starts with the daily understanding, the emphasis that all of our student athletes, all of our programs are important. The academic outcomes, the athletic success on the field of play, that they're involved in, their growth as young men and young women are important on a daily basis. I think it also goes to not only that discussion, but also the visibility of being around as an administrator, particularly as athletic director, in showing the importance, being in the stands, getting to know the student athletes across the board, making sure that your outreach to the student athletes. And I always say, because society sees certain sports as important enough to always have on the sports page or on TV, doesn't take away from the work, the success, the outcomes of those sports that they don't, in that are working just as hard in practice, just as hard to compete, winning championships, competing for championships both as in conference and nationally. And that doesn't, the value or the value that the press or society places on certain sports doesn't diminish the efforts that those student athletes are doing in their sport, and it certainly doesn't diminish it in my eyes. You know, we have 29 sports here. I had roughly 24 and about 20 at my previous two stops, and it really becomes that balance of getting to know, spending time, being visible at all of the sports and making sure that they have what they need to be successful as student athletes, as coaches in their programs. And so it is you have to work at it, Ty. You can't hope that people understand the value and the importance. A lot of times it comes, money. It is all dependent on how people see you investing your money. You have to understand that people are looking at that, and that is an important piece of it. But it really comes down to how much do you appreciate, how much do you support, how much are you engaged in what they're doing on a daily basis. That is, I find, has been most important.
Right. Well, I'd imagine that in a leadership role, in some of the research I've done and in the positions of leaderships I've been in, evaluation and affirmation have been important,
Mm-hmm.
right? So all the sports and the student athletes are constantly being evaluated, but the celebration of their achievements,
Mm-hmm.
while the outside media may not celebrate in-house, how did you make sure at Buffalo, UConn, and of course here in Michigan, that those sports who are achieving greatness off the field and on the field are celebrated on campus and amongst their peers?
Well, I tell you, it's not only we recognize whether it's at a football or basketball, particularly men's basketball event where we have more of our fans. We recognize our championship teams when they happen. We recognize individuals. We even here do a very good job at recognizing past championship teams, 10, 20, 30-year championship teams, national individual champions who are at their 10, 20, and 30-year mark. But I think what's important is little things like when we win a championship in at my head coaches meeting, we congratulate and we clap and we cheer and we say, hey, great job amongst ourselves. Take the public out of it. How do you celebrate something we say we want to do? But you know what we do, Ty? We also celebrate great academic success by our teams and great individual awards that kids may have received, scholarships that are, national, international in scope, those kind of things, to highlight important pieces of what is important to us and what individual teams and coaches as a leader of those teams have accomplished, either individually or collectively. And so and then we do the website, the social media, the different things that we do along the way to celebrate it publicly and internally. And in all those cases where we won championships, I take it up to the president and our executive officer group. We talk about it. I talk about how important it is, for us, and that's the academic and the athletic side and the personal side of this. And so we tend to celebrate, and I'm always bragging about the achievement of our student athletes because it is important, and it's not something, again, in a sport like football and basketball, you have a parade. But we win a national championship, we win conference championships, we're going to celebrate them in any sport in a way that, really sings from the highest level how proud we are of the achievement of what people have accomplished in terms of their effort and the success and the outcome.
In your stops as director of athletics, I guess the culture has to be created, if it isn't there already, to make sure every coach and every player understands the value of these other sports. Winning makes us all look good as a team. How do you emphasize that when you initially arrive at an institution? How do you emphasize that this is going to be our culture? We're celebrating every victory, off the field, on the field, academic, anything.
Well, I think, like I just said, you do it. When somebody wins, you talk about why that's important, and you start clapping for them, and you say congratulations, and you do it. You make sure that your staff showcases it on social media, on our website, that we push it out there. We talk about the importance of winning championships and celebrating championships, that we're all striving for it. What I could tell you here, in pretty much at both stops, at UConn and at Buffalo and here, that we have a culture where our student athletes and our coaches appreciate and celebrate and congratulate those who go on and win championships, win games, but win championships and do those things that they're all working towards. And so I didn't need to, put down and really try to change that part of the culture. It was really ingrained in them. But I did start to make sure that when somebody won a championship, the next time we meet, we celebrate and we congratulate. And it's something that's important to me and something that I want to make sure that I do and that I lead so that others can see the importance of that.
Right, and I would assume that endears everyone to the university, especially with student athletes such as yourself. And of course, I was a student athlete too. There's a tendency you can feel like you weren't necessarily part of the university. You were just in athletics, and then the coaches change, and now it's like, where's my tie back to the school?
Right.
But I assume what you're doing, celebrating them now while they're here, whatever the accomplishment, athletic or non-athletic, and then bringing them back, allows them to feel endeared to the university, to the program, to athletics, to everything.
We're a small part of the university. We're 900 students, student athletes, 40,000.
Right.
While we have a large budget for intercollegiate athletics compared when you compare us across the country, it's a very small portion, less than 1 or 2% of the university budget. But it's a high visibility, highly visible aspect of what Michigan's about. We understand that. So we want to use that visibility for the good, and we want to celebrate and share the good side, the greatness of these student athletes academically, athletically, and as young people. And if we can continue to produce success in those three areas, we should celebrate all three areas. And I commend others across the country, other athletic departments and ADs in universities that also share that particular philosophy, that we're going to share the successes in all three. We're not going to just limit ourselves to people wanting to talk about the championships on the field. We're going to talk about the champions we have on a daily basis in the classroom and in the community and in life, because that's also important to what we do as a university. And so those are the things that I'm constantly pushing internally and externally as I go out and speak and talk about what we're doing. I know a lot of people want to hear about, football and basketball, and hear hockey, baseball, softball for us, women's basketball. I mean, there's a lot of sports, depending on where I am and what part of the country that people want to hear about. But I know the big one is football here, and then you have basketball, and then you have some others. But I try to talk about the others first, and the other successes, and the academic successes, and what our students who participate in athletics are doing outside to help the community or to make a significant impact on the world, and brag about those things before I start to talk about and get into the details of football or basketball or what people really, say they want to hear about.
Yeah, well, Warde, I've been following you since you came onto the scene as an athletics director. I've been watching your career and think you've been very successful. I know people who have attended the schools you have been at and worked for you, and they all enjoy what they're doing. So I just want to say I appreciate what you're doing, and I also appreciate for you having me here in your office and joining us today on One Question.
Well, thanks for the kind words, Ty, and I'll keep working to really helping our young people succeed through their participation in athletics. I mean, this is a university first, and I want my staff, my coaches, but more importantly, these young people who will go out into the world, and as the NCAA's best commercial they've ever produced says, 98% will go on to be pro in something other than sports. And so for me, looking at competition is an important part because we're in athletics, but a small part of our impact on the lives of these young people and the lives of this society. And so proud to be here, and proud to have been at the places I've been and work with the student athletes, coaches, and staff at those other institutions. But this is home for me in many ways. It's my alma mater, and so I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to have you here with me today. It's great to see you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. That was Warde Manuel. Warde is the Donald R. Shepard Director of Athletics at the University of Michigan, and this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today.
This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.